Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Alexis Ware. In this week's news, Village couple celebrates 70th anniversary. Clubhouse Inspiration gives mental ill a place of their own. And Oxford High School grad joins the Peace Corps.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Jessica Brasington is no stranger to traveling. With many travel experiences under her belt, one may consider her a seasoned professional. In the middle of her senior year legal studies at Michigan State University, the Oxford High graduate wanted to change career paths and started attending career fairs to help discover a different line of work. After attending a Peace Corps presentation, Brasington started an application on the same day and in January 2017 received a Peace Corps email saying she would be going to Indonesia to teach English. In the 3 months she has been back in Michigan, Brasington quickly found she is not the same person as when she left. Realizing after being an educator for the past 2 years, she wants to go back to school to get her master's degree in social work or public administration. Good luck.
A 70-year-old Oxford Township man and his 45-year-old stepson are due in court, both accused of sexually assaulting a female child under the age of 13. Both resident Larry Orliner and Sean Michael McCaster, a police officer who lives in Jacksonville, Florida, are aware the alleged assaults occurred between July 2011 and January 2016, according to warrants issued on May 7th. If convicted, they face prison terms ranging the mandatory minimum of 25 years to life. Each are scheduled before Judge Nancy Kananick in Rochester Hills 52nd to 3rd District Court. Both are being held in Oakland County Jail in lieu of posting a $2,500,000 cash surety bond.
Justin Zaccagnini is bothered by how the general public's perception of people with mental illness is often colored by media reports of them committing atrocious crimes. To the 26-year-old Oxford resident, these depictions do not represent him. Zaccagnini is doing what he can to fight these stereotypes by helping to promote Clubhouse Inspiration, which is a center for adults and chronic mental illness. Those individuals can go to the center and participate in the activities, socialize, develop new skills, and find support and assistance. The clubhouse is open Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's also open on holidays such as Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving. Clubhouse Inspiration is currently seeking community members to serve on its advisory committee. If you're interested in volunteering, the committee meets on the last Wednesday of each month from noon to 1 p.m.
Oxford Township might be applying for a $1 million grant from the state to pay for the cleanup of a contaminated property owned by the nonprofit agency House of Providence. The Township Board is expected to potentially vote on whether to serve as applicant on behalf of the agency. The grant is from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Brownfield Redevelopment Grant and Loan Program. The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Brownfield Redevelopment Grant is a no-matching fund that is used to fund environmental response activities, including investigation and cleanup on sites known to be contaminated. If approved, the grant would be used to remove the soil containing lead shot from years of hunting and shooting on 2 parasails, totaling nearly 60 acres owned by House of Providence, who provides housing for foster youth who have been abused, neglected, or unable to find a permanent family. An estimated $820,000 of $1 million grant would be spent on evacuating and disposing of soils containing the lead.
Bill and Shirley Connor are celebrating their 70th anniversary. The Connors, who are both 92 years old, believe the secret to staying together for 7 decades is really no secret at all. It's just a matter of being good to each other, taking care of each other, and supporting each other. It's perfectly normal to have arguments in a marriage, especially one lasting through 13 U.S. presidents. But the Connors said it's important not to let things get out of hand. The Connors consider it a blessing to still be together, enjoying each other's company while in their 90s. Good lesson for the young folks.
Old cemeteries are filled with more than just ornate headstones and large shade trees. They're brimming with local history and the personal stories of a town's residents. An opportunity to hear stories of the people who helped build Oxford and is coming up on Sunday, October 6th. That's when the Northeast Oakland Historical Society will host its third annual walking tour of the township cemetery. Tours will run from 1 to 4 p.m. and tickets are available at the museum. This year's theme is stories of Old Oxford fraternity, charity, and loyalty. Those are the principles upon which the Grand Army of the Republic was founded in 1866. The GAR was an organization open to all honorably discharged veterans of the Civil War who served in Union forces between 1861 and 1865. One of the stories to be shared during the year's cemetery tour will be the history of the GAR, its founding, its work, its achievements, and influence in politics, and ultimately its demise in 1956. Tickets can be purchased at the museum, which is open on Thursdays and Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m. For more information, call 248-628-8413.
Get ready to taste a vast array of wines, beer, and food at the 13th Annual Friends Flavor Fest on October 17th. This extravagant event, hosted by the Friends of the Addison Township Public Library, will take place at the Buell Estate at Addison Oaks. Along with food and beverages, guests can scan the auction tables while being serenaded by live music. Past auction items include airplane rides, sports memorabilia, as well as items that can be enjoyed by the whole family. While Friends Flavor Fest is a time to socialize in an elegant environment, the greater purpose of the event is to raise money for the Addison Township Library and the programs it hosts. Great event.
Oxford resident Brian Booth and his daughter Lily feel a small gesture would help when it came to repaying the kindness that was shown to them when Make-A-Wish Michigan sent them to Disney World last year. That was the wish of Chloe Booth, Brian's other daughter, and Lily's twin sister, who is severely disabled. Booth and his daughter, along with his brother-in-law, hiked 21 miles in northern Michigan and raised over $12,000 in donations for the nonprofit Wish organization, which has granted more than 10,000 wishes to children with critical illnesses since 1984.
You know what I find in Oxford is a lot of people are energized, to get out there and volunteer and provide funds for these charities and so forth.
Absolutely. I mean, Oxford is really a giving little town. It really is.
A lot of enthusiasm for that, and
Yep.
one of the, of course, chief organizers of this kind of thing is the Fish, which
Is
is
it?
downtown, and they provide food and materials for people that are less fortunate.
Right, and every Friday, obviously, we can't forget about their Fridays. It's Fish Fry Fridays, right?
Fish Fry Fridays.
Fish Fry
That would
Fridays.
be the American Legion, located at 108. American Legion.
Never mind.
Great fish, though.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And by the way, those fish, I understand, they come from Bay County, which
Okay.
is my hometown. So I had to come here to get Bay County fish.
Okay.
It is delicious. You folks get an opportunity to get over there and check it out for yourself. Very reasonable, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's Oxford News for this week. If you would like to learn more about these stories and others, you can pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader, or better yet, you can catch us on our website at occtv.org, on YouTube, and of course your regular cable channels, Spectrum 191 and AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up soon, OCTV's very own Cody Wright with school sports, and then school news with Alexis Ware. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Alexis Ware. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, oral HPV infection rates are now down 37% among unvaccinated U.S. men, suggesting the widespread rollout of the HPV vaccine has led to herd immunity. In the U.S., vaccinations to protect against the most common forms of HPV were first officially recommended for girls in 2006 and for boys in 2011. In addition to causing most cervical cancer, HPV is also linked to some types of mouth and throat cancers. Despite this, little research has been done on the effects of the vaccine on oral cancers. So, Anil Chaturvedi at the National Cancer Institute and his colleagues looked at a nationwide survey on HPV infections in the years following the vaccine's introduction. Almost 14,000 adults took part in the survey conducted between 2009 and 2016. Over those years, HPV vaccination rates increased from 0 to 5.8% for men and from 7.3% to 15.1% in women. During this period, the prevalence of the types of HPV included in the vaccines dropped from 2.7% to 1.6% in men who had not been vaccinated. This represented a 37% drop among the unvaccinated yet adult men. This suggested herd immunity was protecting these men, the team wrote. Herd protection likely arises from increased levels of female HPV vaccination in the U.S. population. Chaturvedi and his colleagues failed to find a similar protective effect among unvaccinated women in their study. This could be explained by a low prevalence of oral HPV in the women included, they wrote. There are more than 100 different types of HPV, and the current vaccines only protect against the most common types and harmful ones. The number of men infected with HPV types that were not included in the vaccine remained at the same over the study period. In our next story, bumblebees can sup up thick nectar just as easily as they slurp up thin nectar, and now we know why. It's all down to the tiny hairs on their tongues. Evolution has created some strange and surprising tools to help animals drink liquid. A close look at a bee's tongue reveals a long rod-like stalk that is covered in thin hair-like protrusions. This makes it look a little bit like a tiny mop. When bees are feeding, they quickly dip their tongue in and out of the flower to collect the sweet nectar. Pascal Damon at the University of Mons in Belgium and his colleagues analyzed videos of bees feeding from nectar with different viscosities and made an unexpected discovery. They found that regardless of the thickness of the liquid, the bees lapped it up at the same rate, collecting the same volume of liquid each time. That's a surprise because in theory, thicker liquids should be more likely than thin liquids to stick on an object dipped into the solution. So Damon and his colleagues decided to try to mimic the action of the bee's tongue by 3D printing rods that were either smooth or covered in tiny structures to mimic the bee's hair-like protrusions. Then they dipped them into fluids of different viscosities. It turned out that the distance between the microstructures on the rods explained the puzzle. If they are spaced close enough to one another, then liquid is automatically pulled in them by what is called capillary action. This capillary action is fast enough to fill all of the gaps with nectar each time the bee dips its tongue in and holds the liquid without dripping. Like a mop and a bucket, the bee squeezes the nectar out of its tongue hair when the tongue is returned to the mouth. Patrick Spicer of the University of New South Wales in Australia, who wasn't involved in the study, says we often look at fluids in terms of their large-scale behavior because humans are large animals. From this perspective, liquids that flow slowly appear thick. But if you start going down to small enough length scales, there is this quantity called capillary length, he says. At that scale, what really matters are factors like molecular forces. That's what the bee's tongue does. It's got all these hairs on the tongue, and that space between the hair is able to pull fluid in, says Spicer. What this means is that a hairy tongue gives the bees two advantages. It can draw up fluids more efficiently than a hairless tongue, and it can also help regulate the fluid uptake regardless of its viscosity. The second point is important for a bee that has to survive on nectar that can vary substantially in thickness depending on the weather. You don't want to starve just because your meal has gotten thinner, says Spicer. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hello everyone and welcome back to School News. I'm Alexis Ware. The month of September is still rolling along slowly as students and teachers are still settling into their academic years. Sports is winding up for the football players and sideline cheerleaders since homecoming is only 2 weeks away. October 4th kicks off homecoming weekend, so save the date. Friday, October 4th is going to be the homecoming parade where students show off the floats they've built for this year's theme, and directly after, student athletes, teachers, and the student body all head to the field for the homecoming game at 7. This year's homecoming game is against Stony Creek High School. September 16th was Superintendent Office Hours with Tim Throne. If you missed this event, the next student Superintendent Office Hours is being held on November 4th at the Board of Education office from 6 until 7 in room 10. This Thursday, September 19th, is the first Clear Lake Elementary Green Team meeting of the year. If you have a student at Clear Lake Elementary and would like them to join, show up directly after school. The club meets from 4 until 5. They discuss ways to make the world a safer, greener place while enjoying snack time with the Green Team members. The club meets once a month with instructor Mrs. Danielle. The weather is getting cooler, a sure sign of fall, but that doesn't mean the weekend activities have to. This upcoming Sunday, September 22nd, Upland Hills Farm has Scouts Day from noon until 5. It's an event where Girl Scouts can earn a patch for being there as well as some fun. The event is also open to the public to come out and enjoy some fresh air and animals. For more information about this event and others housed at Upland Hills Farm, visit their site at uplandhillsfarm.com. Moving into the board news, high school principal Stephen Wolf was at the last Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, September 10th to discuss their building survey data. Take a look.
Principal Stephen Wolf presenting to us from the high school. Mark Stepik. Woo! Everybody behave.
So I can present from the computer, is that okay? Yep. Thanks for having me. So we'll jump in here. So we pulled a few items for you from the high school regarding last school year, and then what we're aiming at doing this school year as a result. So we'll start first with our data. So we give out a survey each year to our parents, to our students, to our staff. So we aggregated that data and came up with some plus deltas and some themes. A number of questions, 50 some odd questions, and so relative to the number of people who fill out the survey, you can definitely find yourself getting really deep into the weeds. So we tried to summarize some themes and pull those out for you. So some of the pluses from our parent survey, which you'll find are pretty aligned to both our staff and our students. They feel we offer a variety of activities and courses, different programs, obviously. They feel informed and encouraged and engaged in school-sponsored activities. And if their student has a problem with an academic situation or a personal problem, even they feel like there is someone there for their child to get support and help from. Some of the deltas, some of the opportunities to improve. And a higher percentage of staff feel that their student does not receive the support for the academic and career planning. So the good news is that behind that we've put a person in place, Laura Farwell, who's been in the district for a while, as our career navigator. And so part of Laura's job is to work with counseling, also administration, Lisa Butts as well from CTE, and that is to get kids really engaged, furthering their educational development plan. That's a larger scope of really the Michigan Career Development Model, the K-12 model, which really has students find out what their strengths are individually, what their skill sets are, their talents, their interests, their career interests as well. And the tool we use for that is called Now. So if you're a parent in the district, you're pretty familiar with that program, hopefully. We had some hiccups.
Mr. Wolf discussed both the positive and negative feedback they received in their parent, student, and staff surveys. For the negative feedback portion, a resolution of action was made for the upcoming school year. For more of the September 10th Board of Education meeting, go onto our Facebook and YouTube pages. The next Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 24th at Leonard Elementary School. Before we go, Wildcats, remember that now is the time to submit your favorite athletes to clickondetroit.com, that's Channel 4 News, to nominate them for a chance to be featured for the 4 Frenzy Fall 2019 Fan Choice Awards. The deadline is September 29th, so don't miss out. But that about does it for this week's school news. Next up is Cody Wright with School Sports.
Welcome to Oxford Community Television. We are proud that our 4 communities continue to choose local programming, local news, sports, community issues, familiar faces, celebrations, and commitment to each other. Welcome to Oxford Community Television.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here with this week's sports report. It's been a pretty active week, so let's not waste any more time and dive right into it. First off, the boys varsity football team, they have struggled here to start out their season. We first lost to Romeo in the season opener. That was on the road. And last week, we were still on the road taking on Rochester Adams. It was a tough match. We fell 31-7 by the end. However, the freshman club took on Adams here at home the night before, and they found the win by large 31-0. The boys will take on Bloomfield Hills on the road before returning home the following week and then taking on Lake Orion, which will be the boys' first home game of the season. So it's been 3 games already this season, and we still have not played here at home. Also, the boys' soccer team played this week, both games on the road, first taking on Lake Orion, falling in a tight match, 2-1. Then the boys took on Bloomfield Hills, once again unable to squeeze out the win. Bloomfield Hills with an outstanding performance in net with a shutout, Oxford falling to a final score of 2-0. We do got some up-and-coming events to look forward to in the girls' sports. That is girls swim and dive will be taking on Bloomfield Hills and Rochester. Both meets will be taking place here in home waters. Also, the girls' volleyball team, they were on the schedule for this week. However, their games were canceled, so that will be coming around next week. The girls are going to be competing in what is called the Mercy Tournament, and that will be at Mercy High School. So we will have a lot of action to share come next week on that. For any more info though on these events and more, go to oxfordathletics.org. There's plenty of game breakdowns, statistics, and more all right there. That is for you to check out. Once again, that is oxfordathletics.org. While you are at that though, might as well check us out at occtv.org. All of our coverage of these events and more can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through our website. Once again, that is occtv.org. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you all to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats!
Do you love local sports? Whether it's Oxford High School or Parks and Rec, you can buy copies of each game. To purchase your copy, call us at 248-628-9658 or give us an email at manager@occtv.org or talk to us at the next game. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, BMW has previewed the design of its next 4 Series coupe with the Concept 4 unveiled at the Frankfurt Auto Show. The surprise addition to BMW's stand divided showgoers here with its bold interpretation of the brand's traditional kidney-shaped grille, which has gotten steadily larger with successive model launches. The new car is broadly similar to the production car that BMW is expected to launch in mid-2020, according to media reports. BMW described the front end as the new face of the 4 Series range. The 4 Series is the sporty version of the 3 Series sedan and wagon, both of which have been replaced recently. The Concept 4 embodies the aesthetic essence of the BMW brand, Adrian Hoydonk, head of BMW's group design, said. The upright grille with its chrome surround and chunky grating was described as an immediate advert to the car. BMW said the vertical orientation of the grille referenced sporting cars of its past, including the 328 from 1936 and the 30 CSI from 1971. The profile of the car, with its long bonnet, stretched wheelbase, curved roofline, and short overhangs, were described as elegant and dynamic by the company. It highlighted the ultra-pure surfaces that suggest performance without too many contours or creases, the company said. The car has a slender LED light running the width of the vehicle on the back, and that BMW describes as looking brawny. Further design details include 21-inch wheels and slender rear-view mirrors described as minimalist by BMW. We'll wait and see. In our next story on the recall front, General Motors is recalling 3.5 million U.S. pickups and SUVs to address a vacuum pump issue that could make braking more difficult and increase the risk of a crash. The recall covers certain Cadillac Escalade, Chevrolet Silverado, Chevrolet Suburban, Chevrolet Tahoe, GMC Sierra, GMC Yukon vehicles from the 2014 to 2018 model years. It was triggered because the amount of vacuum created by the vacuum pump may decrease over time, GM told the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in documents posted September 11th. NHTSA opened a preliminary investigation into the issue in November of 2018 and said it had reports of 9 related crashes and 2 injuries. It provided GM in July with additional field reports that prompted the automaker to open an investigation. GM said it could affect braking in rare circumstances. NHTSA said in a statement that vehicles may experience brake boost failure, which would require increased brake pedal effort, leading to hard brake pedal feel and potentially increased stopping distance. GM said dealers will reprogram the electronic brake control module to improve how the system utilizes the hydraulic brake boost assist function when vacuum assist is depleted. GM said the vacuum assist pump, which is lubricated with engine oil that flows into the pump through a filter screen, can in some cases lose effectiveness over time as debris such as oil sludge can accumulate on the filter screen. Separately, GM is recalling 270,000 U.S. additional vehicles in 3 smaller recalls, including 177,000 2018 Chevrolet Malibu cars with 1.5-liter turbo engines because an error in the engine control model software may result in fuel injectors being disabled. And at FCA, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles has recalled 693,000 Ram pickups to fix tailgates that can open while the trucks are operating. It's the latest in a series of recalls totaling more than 1.1 million vehicles. The automaker expanded the recall August 29th to include the additional 693,128 2013 to 2014 model Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks after receiving 127 warranty claims or repair orders potentially related to the problem, NHTSA document said. FCA US is unaware of any related injuries or accidents associated with either vehicle population, a spokesman for FCA told Automotive News in an email statement. The expansion is a response to an FCA review of customer data, which is consistent with the company's continuous monitoring of vehicles in the field. The recall, which began May 23rd, originally covered some 2015 to 2017 model Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 pickups with 8-foot beds and power locking tailgates, and all 2013 to 14 and 2018 Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks built before April 1st, 2018. More than a third of the initially recalled vehicles have already been serviced, the FCA spokesman said. FCA US reminds us that all loose cargo should be secured while driving, as stated in the operating manual of the affected vehicles, the spokesman continued. Further, FCA US pickups offer alternative features to accommodate load security, such as tie-down rings, cleats, high-friction bed liners, bulk head dividers, and bed extenders. FCA will begin notifying customers next month. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.
We here at OCTV cover the local events and government meetings of Oxford, Addison, and Leonard. We also produce and edit programs for you viewers out there. With the help of our great new equipment and our technical directors, we write, produce, and broadcast our local news for you. OCTV and its communities make a great team. Catch us anytime on YouTube. Go to Oxford Community Television YouTube.